This Fan Run podcast is brought to you by DraftKings.
DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, giving new customers a can't-miss offer. New customers can bet just $1 on any NFL game and win $100 in free bets if either team scores a point. The last 0-0 tie in the NFL was 1943, so folks, this is a no-brainer. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code FANRUN in all caps and bet just $1 on any NFL game and win $100 in free bets if either team scores a point. That's promo code FANRUN in all caps this week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 or older in Tennessee only. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text the Tennessee Red Line, 1-800-889-9789.
Back in the booth, back on the airwaves, coming at you live from the White Claw Hard Seltzer Studios. John Reed, Cam Black, Draven Fine, intern Cody has got the Periscope fired up, I believe, if you want to watch along with us as we get set to talk sports and other things on this Thursday, October 14th. How are we today? Thumbs up from Cody. Love to see it. Love the positivity. Cam?
I'm good. Rocking and rolling. Getting through the week.
You have made it to football, Cam.
Yes. That's all. That's what I go for every week is just crawl my way back to football.
Hour 2 kicking off in the White Claw Hard Seltzer Studios. Hour 2 headlines. What do you got for us, Draven?
I guess we'll start with the Big Baller brand. I thought this thing shut down, the Big Baller brand, the BBB.
We haven't heard from it. We haven't heard from it in a long time.
It's been a long time, huh? Well, LeVar just
kind of once Lonzo was like, hey, Lonzo's like, I'm out.
He's still out, right? He doesn't wear their shoes.
No, he's out.
LaMelo does, though.
No,
right?
LaMelo's like with Puma, isn't he?
Oh, yeah. No, that's right. He is with Puma.
That's why I thought they were
so
done.
Who the hell's wearing these shoes?
Because then they also had like the guy who
Angelo?
was stealing money from them. Their manager was stealing money from them. Like LeVar's partner. Anyways, what's the story here? I'm actually very interested in this.
Well, they just unveiled some new shoes. But what's great about these, or at least what's a little funny about them, is on one of the signature shoes that he released, it says on the side, "I told you so."
I mean, he did.
It says
he did tell us. He was right.
I told you so. What do you think about these? Red, black.
Also, he's got now basketball sneakers. These are disgusting.
Yeah, it kind of looks like a little, I don't know, like flame on the
knock
side almost.
They're like knockoff Vans.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, knockoff Vans is a good one. And $695 to $895 for these bad boys.
Okay, so they're just trying to get like the hype of the most hype beasts that are going to buy those ironically as collectors. Like,
are people still do people buy these?
I think everyone tried to support them a couple years ago, kind of ironically. Like, hey, it's cool to have some Big Baller brand merch, and then like it took over a year to get them, if you ever got them at all.
Yeah.
And that was pretty much the end of it. No one's going to buy these. List them as like $700 to try to make sure that only a couple people buy them. That way he can keep up with production, I guess.
Some NFL news for you. Washington football team will retire Sean Taylor's number 21 during the game against the Chiefs this weekend. So a lot of bad stuff going on in Washington as of right now with the whole investigation. So something good, something positive.
No, it's actually the opposite. People are very upset at this. It feels like they're trying to deflect from what's going on with the emails, and a lot of Washington fans are mad online because you've got like a 3-day warning for, Sean Taylor's the best player in that franchise's last 25, 30 years, and they're not going to be there to see him have his jersey retired. There should have been something that, you got more of a celebration around. You should have had a whole week at least leading up to this and let people make plans to come in from out of town if they wanted to.
I do think that was the goal, though, for Washington football team, was to have something positive come out while this investigation's going on.
Well, people think that's not a good thing, though, to be using him as a shield and using him as a PR stunt. Washington has come out and said this has been in the work for a long time, and this was always the weekend they were going to do it. But then everyone's like, well, if that's the case, why are we just now finding out about it? So it is something that has actually been received very poorly.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Sean Taylor. What was the last year that he played? Was it what? He was the early 2000s guy. I just remember that big hit in the Pro Bowl against the punter.
It's sad that's kind of his career highlight. He is so good.
It's almost like, I don't want to take away from that play because it was a massive hit, but it's also like, man, what are we doing? Was that how preseason was? Like, did people actually go hard back in the day?
It wasn't
Because-
preseason. It was Pro Bowl.
Or Pro Bowl. I meant Pro Bowl.
No,
Yeah.
no one
Yeah.
went hard. But
Then why did he kill the punter? It was a fake punt.
because he was out there wanting to.
Take somebody's head
He
off,
did
huh?
his thing.
I don't know if he would have thrived in today's game or not because of how hard he hits. Probably got a lot of penalties, but that's what people liked about him. Surprised he only played 4 years. Last season was 2007. Did he die during the season? Because he only played 9 games. Did he die during the season?
I cannot remember.
Or did he get hurt?
Look that up. He died during the season, November 27th.
Ouch.
Yeah.
All right.
Sad stuff, but still good, I guess. Something that at least honoring him. I know fans probably upset, but
Yeah.
still needed to be done. Retiring his jersey, doing all that, so that's good.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what else we got. Mitch Trubisky with his MVP trophy. Apparently he holds on to it like a Super Bowl trophy. Did you guys see what Josh Allen said about that? That he keeps it in his locker room. He keeps it shined up, the Nickelodeon trophy. Says he's got a strict no touching policy, and you will be reprimanded if you touch this trophy. Takes it serious, John.
Okay.
Not messing around with that award. You guys been watching the Nickelodeon kind of kid NFL show that they have a little bit?
No.
They've been doing that again?
Yeah, you didn't know that? They had
Yeah,
Schefter's daughter on
it's
there.
like every Wednesday, right? They're doing like
every Wednesday, I think afternoon, night.
week
something.
recap, and I don't know if they're previewing the week ahead, but yeah, I mean, I'm
Hey,
sure they're-
Burleson's on there, and like I said, they get a couple of kids on there. I know Schefter's kid is on there, and speaking of Adam Schefter, he actually finally kind of had a statement from everybody questioning him in his asking, Bruce Allen to Mr. Editor, all that, looking over his article before he posted it, got kind of criticized for that. Not really much to make of the statement. He kind of said it's common practice to verify facts of a story with sources before you publish in order to be as accurate as possible. He said, in this case, I took the rare steps sending the full story in advance because of the complex nature of the collective bargaining talks that he was, I guess, reporting on. So he did say it was a step too far, shouldn't have done it. Criticism is fair. And he says he wants to make it perfectly clear, in no way did I or would I have any editorial control or hand over any final say about a story to anyone ever. So, anything to make of Schefter's comments?
I mean, I think there are a lot of things that we could see out of context that don't paint the whole picture. I like Schefter, so maybe I'm trying to compartmentalize it in my mind. But if Bruce Allen's people have been really bothering Schefter about what they're putting in the article, or whatever, and he sarcastically calls him Mr. Editor as he sends it over to let them look at it before. And like we talked about yesterday, without giving him actually any say-so in what gets approved or not, but just like, hey, here's a story, you can read it. If you have anything else you want to comment about. Because, I'm not a journalist, but isn't that common practice, to reach out to somebody about a story and be like, here's what we got, do you want to comment on this?
Yeah, I would check out.
Hey, here's the story we're writing, here's what we're going to report, do you have a comment? And then they'll be like, so-and-so couldn't be reached for comment, or so-and-so refused comment.
Right.
Again, I don't know, not a journalist, but that could easily happen. Then it looks like Schefter's letting him go through it and write his own PR piece. That's not always the case. Or maybe he was and was just protecting his sources and wanted to. I don't feel like anyone was writing puff pieces about Washington over the last decade. So I don't know.
Yeah. It is kind of a sticky subject there, but I don't think no punishment or anything's going to be handed down, right?
No.
He's not going to get suspended or for a week or nothing like that. I don't really think much is going to come about it either way.
No.
I guess we got to talk about this again, man. I know I've been throwing this in headlines a lot, Kyrie Irving, but it's pretty much been the story of the NBA so far. Did you guys see Kyrie Irving taking to Instagram Live last night? Finally kind of had some statements, I guess, some comments about the whole situation, sitting out because of the vaccine. One of the quotes he did say, I'm standing with all those that believe what is right. Everybody's entitled to do what they feel is what's best for themselves. Seeing the way that this is dividing our world up, it's sad to see people are losing jobs to mandates. Of course, he is pretty much said he's not going to retire, but he's just not going to play. I mean, that's right. I mean, that's
Yeah,
essentially what he's got going on.
Is right now, like, is he just waiting for this pandemic to be over? Is he waiting for like a new governor to come in and maybe change the rules and give him an exemption? Like, is he waiting to get traded? He said he loves basketball and isn't going to retire.
Right.
I don't know. I saw someone kind of paint it in a good picture. Just like Kyrie's doing so much to try to look like he cares about the nurses and healthcare workers that like lost their jobs because they didn't want to get the vaccine, without like talking about, you know, how many of the frontline workers are losing their minds and mental health and are overwhelmed and, you know, wanting to die or quit because of all the unvaccinated people in their hospitals. Like, it's just, you can't make that your case and come out looking good, Kyrie. Like, he tried to do the thing where he's deep talking about things and talking a lot of words and not really saying much.
No. I was going to say, it wasn't. He finally had a statement. I feel like he just kind of been saying the same things over and over.
I guarantee when he got done, he thought he killed it. It was like, oh, yeah, that's great. Where all he is just saying is like, I support both sides.
Yeah.
Get vaccinated if you want, whatever.
He did say at the end of one of these quotes, I haven't hurt anybody. I haven't committed a crime. I mean, and I also saw somebody tweet out like he's losing. How much money is he losing this year?
Ole Miss, he'll give up $35 million.
I was going to say $30 million, $35 million for pretty much just what he kind of believes in. So I guess, you got to respect it a little bit, maybe. Just the fact that he would give up all that money to do this. I don't know. It's kind of a...
I mean, you can say that if you want, I guess. But, like, if you're coming out here and you don't have, like, an actual take, like, what is he standing for? Just personal beliefs?
Pretty much that nobody should have to force you to do something, I think, is pretty much because he says, I know the consequences.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. Like, I don't think of him as, like, some martyr, though.
No, not necessarily.
Like, if his overall take is, you know, you've had people comparing him to Colin Kaepernick. I think the messaging there is a little bit different in terms of somebody standing up for a movement, somebody just standing up for, just do whatever you want. I don't know. Doesn't hit the same for me. Mm-hmm. Now, he is sacrificing $35 million. That's a lot. And then, you know, people could look and say, well, he's got $100 million already in contracts that he's got. He doesn't need money. We'll see if he holds out for this all year, if he gives up the $35 million. It's a big sacrifice, but what are you sacrificing for? Just to say, like, you can do whatever you want?
Just to have somebody not tell him what to do, I guess. That's kind of what it feels like.
I mean, we all don't have, like, is Kyrie Irving going to change anything? Like, I mean, it's almost a spit in the face of the people that have to get vaccinated. If I was somebody who believed, like, trusted in Kyrie, but, like, made $20 an hour and had to go work to support my family, so I had to get vaccinated and I couldn't afford to lose a job, I'd look at this kind of as, like, it's just another person from privilege coming. He can afford to give up $35 million. Like,
that's a good point.
Again, I don't know if he's the martyr that he thinks he is.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see if he rides it out, though. He kept saying in his statement, I love basketball, I want to play basketball, but it's like, I'm already an all-time great. My legacy is cemented. I'm good. I don't have to come back and play.
Sounds like retirement. But then again, he said, this isn't retiring.
Yeah, he kept saying, I'm not retiring. Yeah. And he's like, I'll be back whenever the rules change or, you know, if we get traded or whatever.
What do you think the Nets do? Just let him sit out? Like, you can't just let that guy sit out, right?
Well, you can't force him to get the vaccine. Like,
and then, what team's going to trade for him, too? Like, if you mentioned a trade, like, nobody's going to want to trade for him with this kind of situation.
It all comes down to whatever Kevin Durant wants. If Kevin Durant's done with him and says, hey, get him out of here, they'll trade him for a second-round pick. They don't give a damn. Like, they got Kevin Durant and James Harden. They don't need Kyrie Irving.
Yeah.
They got two of the, 7 or 8 best basketball players in the world. Would the third person there that's like a top 15 player, would he be worth it? Yeah, sure, it'd be really cool, but if you don't want to play, so what?
Not much you can do. Tough situation, though, for the Nets. What do you think KD's thinking? They're boys. They are boys, John. They're buddies.
You don't have to support everything your friends do. Mm-hmm. I mean, you could be like, hey, we're friends. Like, not every person that's friends in the NBA are on the same team. So, hey, I believe in your right to do whatever you want, buddy, but, like, go play basketball somewhere else. I'm tired of being asked about it.
Sure does.
James Harden said he hasn't spoken to Kyrie. It's just like, I haven't talked to him.
They're not really. They don't seem as close as
KD
and Kyrie because that's how it all kind of started a little bit. But
sure.
I don't know. We'll have to just wait and see what happens.
All right, good batch of headlines. Stick with us. It's Talk Sports on Fan Run Radio. Get money tonight. Bucks, Eagles. Week 6 is here, and you can make it even bigger on FanDuel Sportsbook. New customers can get 30-1 odds on either team to win. That's right. Start the NFL week off right by winning $150 on a $5 bet. I mean, if you're just betting on a win, I mean, is there anybody here think the Eagles pull off an upset tonight?
When's the last time the Tom Brady's played the Eagles, John? Was it the Super Bowl?
I imagine it was. How did Tom Brady play against the Eagles in that game? Draven? Didn't he have 500 yards?
Threw for 500 yards.
Okay.
I think the most ever in a Super Bowl.
All right. I don't think Tom Brady's the reason they lost that game, so.
I think this game's going to be close. Spread's close, too. Was it down to, I think I saw it at 6.5 on FanDuel.
It's not that close. I mean, 6.5 is a pretty big NFL spread.
Uh,
It's a very medium. It's on the medium to high
I mean, for Tampa and Philly, I feel like it could be a little bit more.
for a road
Yeah, I guess
primetime
Philly is
game.
at home. I think the game's going to be close. I think Philly covers the spread.
Well, who do you think wins straight up? That's what this promotion is. $5 win $150. I was just going to say take the Bucks, but it sounds like you want to confuse people into taking the Eagles.
No, take the Bucks. Take the Bucks.
FanDuel Sportsbook is sports betting made simple, and they're always hooking you up with great offers. We love FanDuel Sportsbook. We all use it here. It's easy to use. It's safe and secure with fast payouts. And when you win, you get paid in as little as 24 hours. That's what we're talking about with the fast payouts. Sign up with the promo code TALKSPORTS this week, tonight, before Tampa takes on Philadelphia, and you can turn a $5 bet into 150 Skrilla. Remember to use the promo code FANRUN so they know that we sent you exclusively on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. New users only. $10 first deposit required. Must wager in designated offer market. Max bonus of $150. Bonus for Tennessee users fulfilled. In-site credit within 72 hours. Tennessee site credit expires 14 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call Tennessee Redline at 1-800-889-9789. There is a stat floating around that would give you some credence, your claim that it's going to be close.
Let's hear it.
About Tom Brady.
Yeah, did you see that one? Apparently 0-10. 0-10 against the spread in his last 10 primetime games.
That's what I was saying about the
What?
after 7 stuff yesterday. I think it was primetime stuff. He just
Wait,
doesn't
0
cover
for
his,
10 is
he
last
doesn't cover the
10
spread.
primetime games.
Now, I would count the Super Bowl as primetime, and he covered that one. I would count the playoffs as primetime, and he covered that. But this is just a regular season stat, I assume.
Well, I mean, they did have a lot of kind of, I won't say bad, but I mean, they had a lot of bad
They
regular
got blew
season
out a lot
losses.
last
Yeah, I mean, Rams on was that a Monday night? They kind of got dominated by Jared
Saints
Goff.
killed him on was it a Thursday night? The
I think
Saints
that
killed
was
him?
a Sunday night. Last year? Yeah.
Was it Sunday night? Okay.
Yeah.
They beat them
And
by
then Thursday
40.
night to the Bears.
I mean, yeah, there's 10 of them.
Yeah, that's crazy. I wouldn't think that.
Oh, and 10 against the spread. Cam, how much weight are you putting on that tonight when you look at Bucks versus Eagles and what you expect? Because, if the Eagles win this game, they're going to be back to 3-3.
Yep. Yeah, they'd be 3-3.
They'll feel like they'll have a chance to, get back in the wild card mix there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think you got to take some stock into it. I think it's a short week with Thursday night game. I could see that being a factor, stuff like that. I do think the Bucks still win this game, but I could see it being, just a little closer than they would like most of the game and winning by like 4. I could see like a 24-20 game or something like that.
I think this is a huge game for Jalen Hurts. Because, I mean, do we really think Jalen Hurts is like a franchise quarterback? Do we put that next to his name yet? And, like, the one primetime game we've really got to see him so far in his career was the Monday night game against the Cowboys, and he looked pretty much awful. Through the pick 6, through the pick early in the game. Really just struggled the whole time. So I think this is a really important game for him. And not to mention, Tampa Bay has the best running defense in the NFL. I think they only give up like 40 yards a game running the ball. Like, their front seven is insane. So it's going to have to be Jalen Hurts throwing it for the Eagles to even be in this game.
Do we still think Tampa Bay's front seven is still that good in terms of stopping the run, or is it just like their secondary is so trash that teams are just like, you know what, we're just going to throw on them instead?
Well, week 1, that was exactly what the Cowboys did. Just,
Right.
I mean, they didn't even, really try to run the ball. It was more just, hey, our run play was a bubble screen or a quick screen to the outside.
Granted, there were a couple, like, between the tackles runs that I remember seeing that, Zeke just didn't look good on running, but he's looked better since then. So, like, maybe there was a little bit of both. Because I remember the conversation after week 1 was like, Zeke didn't look good, and he's looked awesome since then.
But then again, 40, they're only giving up 45 rushing yards a game.
Does it say, what their yards per average is? Could you find that? Because I'm interested to see how many times teams are actually, running against them for, a variety of reasons. Because, A, it's easy to pass on, but B, Tampa's offense has been scoring a lot of points, and you sometimes have to abandon the run. They
do give up the most passing yards in the NFL per game.
Yeah, no, that's what I said.
I didn't realize they were dead last in that.
I would have thought the Chiefs were, but
same.
It doesn't surprise me that Tampa's bottom 3, and it doesn't shock me that they're the last because again, A, they're in a lot of shootouts or a lot of high-scoring games, and B, they just can't stop the pass. Everyone's been able to get off on them. Even Mac Jones had how many straight completions against them? 20. Whatever it was in the second half, it was something crazy.
Close, yeah.
I'm not sold on Tampa being a great team. I know I had them at number 5 in my power rankings, but if push comes to shove, I don't feel great about them.
So Tom Brady, man, it's hard for me to even doubt this team a little bit.
But your larger question though is a good one of how much pressure is on Jalen Hurts because I don't think anyone thinks he's a franchise quarterback, and at times he's looked pretty bad. He looked pretty bad last week against Carolina for 3 quarters and then was able to get it together in the 4th as, the Panthers kind of imploded and Jalen Hurts passing didn't do anything. He still only had 80 yards passing, right? Or something similar to that. He had 2 rushing touchdowns.
No, he didn't do much at all this past week. It's really more just Sam Darnold kind of blowing it.
Right. And Hurts did get it going in the run game. Like I said, I think he had 70, 80 yards on the ground and 2 touchdowns, including the game winner. I guess passing he did better than I thought. He ended up at 198. Only 30 rushing yards, but again, the 2 touchdowns. At home against Kansas City before he threw for 387.
Yeah, he played. That was probably the best game he's played of his career, and nobody really talked about it just because it kind of still felt like a blowout.
It was, and also Kansas City sucks. We recognize their defense is terrible.
Right.
But he threw for 387, 66% of his passes, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, 8 rushes for 47 yards. I don't understand the damn QBR. His passer rating in that game was 105, which, over 100 is good. We know perfect is 158.3.
Yep.
So he's at above 105, which is good, and then QBR. He had a 35. I don't understand.
They take on so many weird factors into their stuff.
Why don't we just combine?
And I swear,
just have one thing.
Have they gone and readjusted? Because didn't he have a 36 or 37 after the Cowboys game? Because wasn't the thing was he graded, or was it a Pro Football Focus grade he outgraded Dak on? I thought it was a QBR was higher than his too.
Jalen Hurts had a better QBR than Dak in that
game, right?
Yeah.
Well, here on this game log right now, it's saying he had a QBR of 10 in that game.
No,
that's what it's saying. But I thought he had a 37 and Dak had a 36.
Yeah, because that's what we literally argued the next day.
There was also I think Pro Football Focus graded them in the 60s. That might be it. I think one had a 65, one had a 64. So maybe it was already a 10, but that checks out more if the eye test of what he did against Dallas. I thought he was terrible against Dallas.
He was terrible. He was bad.
But when you know that Tampa Bay is giving up the most passing yards in the NFL, you do have to come out and throw for 300, right? His over under on FanDuel Cam is
you want
it's 280, right? It's high.
285.5.
Okay. Which when you look at it, you're what the hell? You can't throw over 280, but then you look at Tampa's defense, and you're okay, that makes sense.
Yep.
Which I thought FanDuel gave you a gift on Monday, and they set Lamar's over under at 220. He's throwing for 280, 300 every game.
Passed that pretty easily, didn't he? Man, he does have a 10 QBR on the box score. That's so strange. I don't know why they would readjust that for Hurts.
Unless we just missed it and we're just arguing about the grades, but I don't think we were.
No, I didn't think so either.
Big game for Jalen Hurts if he is going to, even make this a thought with Philadelphia. And, as a franchise, if you think Hurts is good enough, that would, behoove you. Then you could spend your draft capital to build out a roster and not have to take a quarterback.
Yep.
You wouldn't have to go trade for Deshaun Watson. But yeah, definitely some pressure tonight to play better. And again, if they win, they're back to 3-3.
I don't even think they have to win for him. Like you said, he's just got to play well. 300 yards, got to throw some touchdowns. The Bucs have allowed 2+ passing touchdowns in all 5 games so far this season. But got to throw a couple touchdowns.
I think the more wins they have, though, the harder it'll be to move on from him. Yeah. Even if he plays quote unquote well, and they go 6-11, they're going to draft a quarterback.
The thing is, though, like Jalen Hurts, or you want to take a risk on whoever the hell's coming out of the college, right? Like Matt Corral, I guess.
Yeah.
Like that just seems,
I would say it's more
know.
likely they would swing a trade for Deshaun Watson at that point.
Right. Because they were in the conversation there for a minute for Deshaun.
Yep. Let's go to break. We'll come back. We'll grab Jordan DeJani of CBS Sports. We'll talk about this upcoming week in NFL football. It's Talk Sports on Fan Run Radio. Let's go to the G3 Help Me hotlines. Let's get a white hot Jordan DeJani, 7-3 the last 2 weeks on his 5 best bets. What's up, Jordan? How are you, my friend?
Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm doing well. Thank you for the good compliment. We're back up to number 2 in the company. We are rolling right now. Definitely go check out that column on CBSSports.com. It was published this morning.
Who's number 1?
Yeah, so I actually gave him a shout-out in my column. We have a guy, Ryan Wilson, who you've probably heard of, our NFL draft expert. He's gone an astounding 54-23-3 against the spread. He just doesn't slow down. He's absurd. So he's number 1 in the company. I could be happier, but it's just really hard to catch this guy. So happy with number 2. I'm glad I'm showing out. But, man, if you want to make some money a little bit more than I am, go check out Ryan Wilson for sure.
What's your overall record?
My overall record against the spread is 45-34-1.
Okay, that's really good. And that guy's 7. What'd you say his was again? 55-23?
Yeah, 54-23-3.
Oh my God. Meanwhile, I think I'm 12 of 20 here on the show. So that's good.
It's hard.
That's good. That's good to know. Oh, thanks, Jordan. Thanks for telling me it's hard. I figured it out. I understand. What was your best bet last week for us?
Yeah, so it was the Cowboys over the Giants. I'm undefeated against the spread when picking the Cowboys. I picked them as the best bet again this week in my top 5. Obviously, was helped out a little bit with injuries there, but, they are red hot, and they're continuing to roll. So they have an interesting matchup this week against the Patriots on the road. I'm glad I could cash there. We're back to 3-2 on my loss on your show.
You hear that, Draven? Top 5, one of his best bets this week, your Cowboys. How good are the Cowboys, Draven? Jordan, are they legitimately at the top among the elite? Do you think that this defense can sustain this all year? Is it fool's gold? Is it real? How do you view the Cowboys?
Yeah, so it's still TBD to me. I do believe that they are one of the best teams in the NFC, but when it comes to their status as legitimate contenders, I'm still kind of on the fence. That defense looks better. Statistically, they're not necessarily, in the top echelon of defensive units, but they are number 2 in turnover differential at +7, and I think that's going to help, raise this team's ceiling when it comes to trying to make a playoff run. But obviously, they have one of the best offenses in the NFL. They've made slight work of some lesser opponents, so I'm going to keep a keen eye when they come up against some adversity coming on later on in the regular season schedule. Some more divisional games, see how they handle those. But, yeah, they are a very good team. I don't know if I'm placing money on them to win the Super Bowl just yet.
How big was the win for Buffalo on Sunday night in Kansas City? Was that official, kind of a passing of the torch, at least in the regular season, as the AFC favorites? Was it more about Kansas City's defense and how bad they are and that maybe their offense is also a little broken? Or is it just about Buffalo, who has the best offense and defense in the league right now, just kind of ascending to that top spot?
Yeah, that's a good question. There's a lot of things to take away from this game. I actually had the Bills as a best bet, putting them on the money line, even though they're a +2. I think a lot of people watching this game or watching the Bills this season understand that they are indeed the best team in the AFC as of now. So when you use the term passing the torch, I think that's appropriate. But obviously we know what the Chiefs are, and, if they can right the ship and get back into that, that status of being a legitimate contender for a Lombardi trophy, there's still time for them to get back on track. But everyone who's watched the Bills up to this point, even if they were beating up on lesser teams, everyone understands that Josh Allen is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. His defense is one of the best in the NFL, which I think is absolutely important. But, it was a primetime stage where all of us got to watch how bad the Chiefs' defense has been. I mean, they've allowed 29-plus points in each game this season. I've allowed 400-plus yards of total offense in 4 out of 5 games. They haven't had a takeaway in 3 straight games. There's a lot of things to be worried about when it comes to this Chiefs team. You can't win a Super Bowl if your defense is the worst in the NFL. So we'll keep an eye on that moving forward. They do have a potential get-right spot this week against Washington. We can get into that later. But everyone's keeping eyes on the Chiefs to see how they bounce back.
Well, yeah, everyone keeps talking about them riding the ship and that they're going to fix it and they're still going to be there at the end. Are we sure? Because every year in the NFL, there's at least one, sometimes two teams that just have a season from hell or just lose it, and they shock everybody when they just don't end up being good. Why is that not Kansas City? Why are they still getting the benefit of the doubt? Why are they still co-favorites to win that AFC West? Are we seeing all the warning signs and just ignoring them? Because I saw a stat yesterday, Jordan, that Patrick Mahomes has as many 20-yard passes down the field successfully as Jared Goff does this year and Daniel Jones does this year. That seems pretty problematic.
No, I'm glad you brought this up. You bring up a good point because I don't think a lot of people are saying what you're saying and that it's possible the Chiefs don't right the ship and that they do have, as you called it, a season from hell. I mean, it's very possible. You go back historically and look at some of these teams who lost the Super Bowl and the kind of hangover that they've experienced the following season. So I am leaning more towards you, but I think the reason people are giving them the benefit of the doubt is because of the quarterback Patrick Mahomes and the offense which he orchestrates. Obviously, it hasn't been up to par this season. I think we all understand that. But when you have that explosive offense in an offensive and quarterback-driven league, that's why they're given the benefit of a doubt. And on top of that, we viewed this team as a prospective dynasty over the past couple of years, getting ready to set themselves up for NFL glory. Obviously, they've run into some troubles in the middle of that road, and I agree with you. It's definitely not a given that they bounce back.
I do think there's obviously a book out on how to stop the Chiefs right now. It seems like everyone has kind of figured out how to eliminate the big plays. Again, Patrick Mahomes has 15 20-yard completions this season, which is one less than Mac Jones, one less than Daniel Jones, one less than Jalen Hurts, one less than Taylor Heineke, 3 less than Zach Wilson and Sam Darnold, and 4 less than Jared Goff. It seems like they have figured something out about taking those deep threats away. We saw this with McVay and his offense. They, have kind of evolved, but they had to go get a different quarterback to do that. We've seen Andy Reid do it over his career with different quarterbacks. So I have some confidence in him, but it might be something that takes an offseason to figure out. I'm out on the Chiefs, and I officially give my stamp of approval to the Chargers to win the AFC West. Do you agree or disagree?
At this point, yeah, I have to agree. If I'm placing money on it right now, I'm leaning towards the Chargers. And they find themselves in an interesting spot this week, too, against the Baltimore Ravens. And they're actually underdogs against the Baltimore team coming off of an emotional, home victory on Monday Night Football. So, man, this Chargers team, you can't say enough about them. They're actually staying healthy for the first time in seemingly 30 years. They have their legitimate franchise quarterback in Justin Herbert. And they have a Coach of the Year candidate in Brandon Staley as well. Everything's going right for this team. And even though the defense gave up a lot of yards and a lot of points against Baker Mayfield and the Browns last week, that didn't take away your confidence because this team was able to finish the job with a win. So I'd have to agree with you there.
If I say Brandon Staley's the best young coach in the NFL, you would say I'm wrong because why?
I would say, if I had to play devil's advocate, I'd say, well, bro, we're only in week 6. So give me some time before so he can finish his first season as an NFL coach just yet. What happens when he runs into adversity? I bring up the injuries that the Chargers have experienced. I feel like that injury bug could get out under the covers and bite at any given moment. So how is this coach going to handle adversity? He's looked great on 4th down, and he's been aggressive, which I think is a big reason NFL fans like him. He has good game calls and good game plans when it comes to those pivotal 4th down situations. He's had really good quotes up at the podium. That's why he's the favorite when it comes to not only winning Coach of the Year, but also just someone people can hitch their wagons to in terms of cheering for as an NFL head coach in the NFL, right? So, it's too early for me just yet to claim him king, but he's definitely on that route.
But who do you got that's better? Because, some stuff with McVay, I don't like his decisions on 4th downs and kicking. I think Shanahan stinks. Is it still McVay, I guess, for now, in your opinion, or Kingsbury or someone else?
Yeah, I think you got to give some respect to Kingsbury. He was a coach we all had on the hot seat entering this season, and sure enough, his Arizona Cardinals are the last remaining undefeated team standing. So, he's been around in the league a couple of years now, so, the passion on him is kind of cooled when it comes to just an NFL fan base outside of Arizona. You can't take away what Brandon Staley's doing. But, there are a lot of good young NFL head coaches in this league. But Brandon Staley is the new thing, and I think that's always sexy.
Lamar Jackson kind of made a statement on Monday night with, over 400 passing yards. Are you buying this as a turnaround, for them, or is it more just like, hey, the Colts just had all their secondary players out, so Lamar kind of got hot? Or is Lamar a guy now that's going to just stand back and be able to throw for 300 yards and beat you that way? Because the Ravens didn't run the ball well against the Colts, and it didn't really matter. They still scored a bunch of points.
No, this is a big turnaround for this team. I think on both sides of the ball. I mean, Lamar Jackson came into the season with one regular season game of throwing for 300 yards. He had his second in Week 4 against the Broncos, and then he explodes in Week 5. We talked about the Chargers or whatever team facing adversity. This is a Ravens team that's faced a lot of adversity through the preseason and the early stages of the regular season as well. And it speaks a lot to not only their coaching staff, but their players and leadership that they were able to come out victorious on top of it all. I was talking about this Ravens team, a couple of weeks into the regular season in terms of me being impressed with what Lamar Jackson's doing, passing the ball down the field, and also some of the young players they have on defense and how they're evolving as well. So it really looked like I was going to be wrong, and it was going to be a nasty turning point for this Ravens team, having a downfall on a primetime stage against a subpar Colts team. But they were able to right the ship and come back, and it was an incredible comeback at that. Lamar Jackson is definitely in the MVP conversation once again. I think we're seeing him getting better and better.
Jordan Dejani, CBS Sports. You can follow his work. You can read all of his stuff on cbssports.com. On the way out, give us your best bet of the weekend.
Yes, I'll give you two. I'll only put one on record, of course, because that's how we do.
You can do two. You can do two. If you feel great about two, give us two.
I'm not going to put two on record. I'll put one on record just to be right. But I think what I'm leaning towards right now is a get-right spot, okay? I like to examine and identify different get-right spots every week in the NFL, and I find one here going on in the Mile High City with the Denver Broncos facing the Las Vegas Raiders. Of course, the Raiders team is dealing with a lot of off-field noise with John Gruden. And with John Gruden's resignation and him being gone, a new interim head coach leading a team on the road on a 2-game losing streak, they just didn't look right in that 20-9 loss to the Chicago Bears last week. And I have no reason to believe that they're going to look like a well-oiled machine this week. So I'm leaning towards the Broncos there at -3.5. I'm going to give that out as a lock on your show. Another two bets to consider real quickly in the nation's capital with the Washington football team. Again, I'm talking about these get-right spots. I know that we're not high on the Chiefs as we were in years past, but Washington's defense is one of the worst in the NFL. So is the Chiefs, but the Chiefs have an offense to somewhat make up for it. So I'm leaning towards Chiefs -6.5. On top of that, I would also eye the over. So if you want to make a same-game parlay, do an alternate spread when it comes to the over, the total with the Washington and Chiefs matchup, and also maybe take the Chiefs on the money line. Maybe throw in an alternate prop there as well, which will get you to plus money. So those are the couple bets I'm eyeing this weekend.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% about the over in the Chiefs and football team. I don't think either team can stop either team. I'm a little bit higher on Washington's offense than it sounds like you are, but I just think that Chiefs defense is terrible. You working on anything else on CBS Sports, Jordan, that the people need to know about?
Nothing in particular right now. We are putting out a lot of gambling guides that we're coming out with this weekend. I'm only doing one, and it's to be decided for the team. I think it's actually Raiders Broncos, but I've been cashing on some of these player props. I made a nice killing on the Dan Arnold on over receiving yards for the Jaguars against the Titans last week. I think I'm doing a good job roughing through the mud, finding some jewels there. So keep an eye on CBSSports.com. We always have the best gambling content.
Appreciate you, my friend. Talk to you next week.
Always. Thank you, guys.
Jordan Dejani, CBS Sports. Give him a follow on Twitter. That interview was brought to you by our friends at the Knoxville-based law offices of G. Turner Howard III. If you or a loved one has been injured in an accident, they can help get you the compensation that you deserve. At G3, you matter most. Visit g3helpme.com or call them at 865-401-8214 to get help now. That's g3helpme.com. Once again, g3helpme.com. Back on the program. Is that not a wild stat that Patrick Mahomes only has 15 20-yard completions this season?
That is a pretty crazy stat.
That's how defense have figured him out, John. They figured him out.
I mean, I feel like you're saying that sarcastically, but I mean, it seems like there's something to that.
I mean, we are just 5 weeks into the season. They also have lost to, 3 4-1 teams, 3 pretty damn good teams at the end of the day. I don't think we need to panic or anything.
Well, yeah, but you could also say they've only beaten their 2 wins are against who? The Eagles and Browns team that again dropped the football and
kind of blew that game.
And again, I'm not saying that I'm not writing the Chiefs off as dead just yet. I do think they're going to lose that division to the Chargers and my lover, Brandon Staley. But
Tell you like Brandon.
But I do think there's something to through 5 games. They're averaging 3 20-yard passes per game whenever in the last 2 years or the last 3 years, that's been unstoppable.
Yep.
And was it the Browns game where, I mean, like, one of their touchdowns was one of those plays that, like, Mahomes just scrambles and he's one up and Tyreek Hill catches it and runs away. Like, I mean, it was kind of a busted play. Like, it wasn't even a design deep pass. Like, it seems like, you know, that game could have been the Browns winning comfortably.
Yep.
Again, I'm not saying they're done, but we can all agree they're not the favorites right now, right? I mean, like, you don't feel like they're winning the AFC.
I'm not worried about this offense at all. Like, you can read those stats, that's fine. They'll figure it out. Like, start throwing shorter passes, whatever. It's going to open things up down the field, but it's more about the defense.
So when you say you're not worried about them, what does that mean?
I'm not worried about the offense.
What does that mean? You think they're still the best offense in the league? Because they've been the best offense in the league for the last 3 years. Like, you still think they're
still top 3, top 5 at least.
Is that good enough?
That's good enough to get you in the playoffs. Now, can they win a Super Bowl?
Can they
the
win a
defense has
playoff
to be
game?
better.
Can they win a playoff game on the road?
The defense has to be better. You can beat those teams with that top 5 offense. You can beat them with Patrick Mahomes. You can win those playoff games on the road. But it comes down to defense. You can't have a horrible defense.
Right, I understand that. But, like, do we think there's a magic fix for their defense? Because if
you get Chris Jones back, that's about it.
Because if you're going to tell me that they're going to be a top 5 offense versus the number 1 offense, I'm going to say their defense has to be top 15, and they seem a hell of a long way away from top 15.
No, they're not even close.
Now, if Patrick Mahomes is still number 1, and they're still scoring 40 points a game, maybe you can get by with the top 25 defense and just not last in the league. But again, I think no run game. Only 2 skill position players that can do anything, although it didn't seem like Travis Kelce was open very often against the Bills. And if you look at Travis Kelce's numbers, they seem down quite a bit from last year, especially when you look at, I think he went off in 2 games and otherwise has been relatively kept quiet, right? I mean, he went off in the Baltimore game, and I want to say there was another one.
Maybe the Eagles game.
The
Bills game.
It was a Chargers game, actually.
Chargers game.
Ravens, he had 7 catches, 109 yards. Chargers, he had 7 catches, 104 yards. Cleveland, 6 for 76. Philadelphia, 4 for 23. Buffalo, 6 for 57. Like, I mean, there's 3 games where if you keep Travis Kelce to 76 yards, you feel really good about it. If you keep him under that, you feel awesome.
The Bills' game plan was great against them. They were even like, hey, call us for holding. We don't care. Like, we're going to literally do whatever we can do to bump, shove, grab, do anything with Travis Kelce. Like, they did a really great job with that. It's Patrick Mahomes, though, John. Like, it's Patrick Mahomes.
I'm not saying
he's still that guy. He's still that dude. Like, and you take away some of these fumbles, like Mahomes dropping a snap. He's not going to do that again. That's not going to happen again. I know it was towards the end of the game, but just the fumbles on kickoffs, fumbles by these receivers, drop passes, bad throws, all that. I think they can clean that stuff up. And I think we're going to be saying, okay, this offense is fine.
Well, do you agree with the concept, though, that if you limit big plays, you're forcing Mahomes to throw short passes, which, by definition is going to have more traffic there, which by definition you're going to have to throw the ball more to matriculate the ball down the field. Like, those play into the interceptions as well, though. Like, I mean, the fact that he's not able to get 70 yards on 1 pass and has to do it over 5 passes, that creates a better chance for mistakes. And look, again, I don't want to say that they are broken, because going into the Buffalo game, didn't Collinsworth have a stat that they'd only made it to like 6 fourth downs all year?
Yeah.
Something of that sort, but like, still a lot of turnovers. Still a lot of turnovers for that team. Now, maybe they clean that up and the offense is fine, but again, how much better does the defense have to be for them to be an actual contender?
It's crazy. I think if they give up, I think they could be the first team ever to give up 28 points in the first 6 games of the season. If they give up 28 again this weekend.
That's crazy.
Just insane.
I mean, I feel like they're going to give up 28 points even to the football team.
Yep.
Because, I mean, unless you're – like in the past, we've seen Kansas City kind of try to slow down the game and stretch out drives. And yeah, they're a good offense, but they're going on 7-minute drives because they're burning the clock a little bit. But this year, this run game's worse than it's ever been, I feel like.
And that Edwards-Helaire just got hurt too.
So
he's already struggled with fumbles, kind of lost his confidence a little bit after the fumble against Baltimore, and now he's out for the next few weeks.
And Damian Williams is gone, so you don't even have a reliable backup. I'm not writing the offense off. I'm not writing Mahomes off, but I do think they've slipped some. And I don't think they can afford to slip any if this defense is going to be as bad as they are. And sure, maybe the defense corrects themselves a little bit, although we have seen this before from their defensive coordinator, Steve Spagnuolo. He has the current record. He has the current record for most defensive yards per play allowed. He has it right now at 7.1 yards per game, and he is beating his own record from the mid-2010s where he had 6.6 yards per game. He has done this before. And I just don't know how they are going to fix it. Yes, they could get Chris Jones, but
he's not playing coverage. He's not covering anybody.
He's not. And he's not going to fix every defensive line problem either. He'll help. But he ain't going to fix every problem. Mm-hmm. Maybe Josh Gordon gets more acclimated in this offense.
Did
and can give him
have a catch Sunday night? I know
he had at least one. He had one on a Mahomes busted play where Mahomes scrambled and threw it up, and Gordon boxed out a guy and caught a first down. That was a pretty pitiful play, and that's why Mahomes is throwing so many more interceptions this year because, we thought maybe Mahomes just was magic because he was making those same throws the last couple of years and people weren't intercepting them. But now people are intercepting them, and now all of a sudden he doesn't look as good.
And he's trying to do a little too much, too. Well, with a defense like that, I feel like he's trying to overcompensate sometimes.
I think it puts pressure on your offense.
Yeah. I would say he was doing the same things the last couple of years, and it just worked. So we all look at Mahomes. But, this year against, I want to say the Chargers, he threw a no-look interception.
Yeah.
When he throws a no-look touchdown, it's oh, wow, look at this. When he throws an interception, oh, buddy.
He was wide open, too. I remember watching the play on Red Zone. He could have easily hit him, and maybe he threw it a little high.
Maybe just look. Maybe just look. It's okay.
Still, we're saying all this, but would we be just absolutely shocked if the Chiefs just went on a tear and still got one of the best seeds in the AFC and ran through the AFC again?
Yes.
You'd be shocked at this point.
I would be shocked if they won the Super Bowl.
Really?
If they won the AFC. You said run through the AFC. If they won the AFC, I would be shocked. I think they are fundamentally flawed. And again, I know I'm not the NFL expert here, but I told you guys all offseason the Chiefs were taking a big step back, and you guys said I was stupid. And they look like they're taking a big step back.
Still a long ways to go, my friend.
There are. But I'll tell you one thing. I'm not picking them to win 3 straight road games.
Yeah.
So if they don't win that division, they're going to be a wild card team, and they ain't winning the AFC that way. I'll tell you that much. A big part of their success has been being at Arrowhead. And they put themselves behind the 8 ball there to win the division and to be the 1 seed. So they are up against it. Now, they do have they have at least one get-right game, against the football team, and then they play in Nashville, and, the Titans have their flaws, so maybe they could win the next 2 and get back on track, or maybe they could lose to the Titans and lose to another AFC team, and that would put them 0-4 against good I guess they beat the Browns, so put them 1-4 against good AFC teams. Ravens, Chargers, Bills, and Titans could all have wins over them. And the Browns should.
Yeah, they should.
Hour 2 in the books. We'll kick off Hour 3 with headlines. We got some this or that coming up. Cam has promised. He has put his reputation on the line. He is hitting his same-game parlay tonight.
Tonight's the night.
Stick with us. Let's talk sports on Fan Run Radio.